Hello and welcome back to the second part of the tutorial. So in the first part we did this layout, we added the article and we added some responsiveness so that the layout changes when you're in mobile mode. And we just have a placeholder currently for the tour section, and that's what we'll be doing in this tutorial. We'll be adding this header, the tickets, and we'll also be adding this bottom navigation that goes to store and the archives. So we'll begin by setting up the structure for our tour in our index.html file. And the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go ahead and collapse this first article section here, just so that it doesn't get in the way. And here what we're going to do is first add a header for our tour. I think it was World Tour 2023. And then we know that for our tickets, it's going to be an unordered list. And this unordered list is going to have a bunch of tickets. So for the tickets, I'm just going to add kind of the placeholders now. So now let's refresh. And now we can see we have the World Tour header here, and then this is going to be our list of tickets. So the first thing that we're going to do is style our header. So I'm going to go to the Magic CSS tool, and then for our H2, I guess first thing I'm going to do for our section tour, I wanted to take all available space. And then for our H2, we want to have font size 3 rem. And then our font family, we want it to be condensed. And our font weight, we want it to be 400. And then for the background color, we'll make it red. And our actual color is going to be this off-white. And then we'll have a slight padding, slight horizontal padding. So this will be 0. This will be half a rem. Also, 2 quick things to note. First one, if you're making a real website, you're probably not going to be hard coding your article inside your code. It's just not sustainable, and then it would not be possible for like an editor or somebody who doesn't know code to edit it. So you are probably using a CMS to do that. And same as for the tickets, you're not just copy pasting HTML code over and over again. You're using like components or partials. Here, since we're just kind of playing around, doing it from scratch, focusing more on like aesthetics, usability, all that stuff, like I'm doing it this way, but obviously like don't do that in a real website, like don't repeat yourself. Anyway, and the second thing is, why are we using H2 tag here and not H1? So a website should only have one H1 tag. It's the main description of the website, the main purpose, and then everything else has to be like H2 and then H3. Okay, so now that we have that settled, we are going to move on and do our unordered ticket list here. So what I'm going to do is our unordered list. And just to help us orient, I'm going to add a border to the list items. Actually, we don't think we added the class. Okay, so you would not want to be doing that. So now we have our borders. So the first thing we're going to do for unordered list, we'll do list style none. And we don't want any margins or any padding. And then what we want to do here is display it as grid. And for the grid layout, we want to have columns. And let's see if I can remember this. So we want to repeat of autofill, and then the minimum width of the ticket we want to be around 15 rems. And the maximum is one frame, so whichever space is available. And then we want to add a gap. I think it was 1.5 rem. So now we're just going to take our code and move it to our CSS file. So H2 is going to go right under H1. And then our tour stuff is going to go, just bring it down here. We'll make this section and then save. And now we have all our stuff here. And then as you enter responsive mode, you can see that once there is not enough space to have 2 columns of tickets, each at least 15 rems wide, it just collapses and goes to 1 column. Let's exit that. And we don't need this stuff anymore. So now what we're going to do is start setting up our structure for the ticket itself. So I'm going to return to our index file and delete this. And so for our ticket, we are going to have a couple parts to it. The first one is we're going to have a section that's going to be general concert info. And inside our concert info, we're going to have, this one's going to be just a paragraph tag. It's going to be concert date. And let's do first one is March. And we're also going to have our H3 header. So this one is going to be concert location. And this one is golden one center. Then we'll add a line break. And this one is Sacramento. And then our second part is going to be our link to the ticket. And this one's going to be get tickets. This one will actually also want to add an ARIA label to be more specific for screen readers. This one would be get tickets to Sacramento, California. So we could write this out as the actual link test, but it would be too visually cluttering. So that's why I added an ARIA label instead. And then our last piece is going to be, maybe we'll use small tag. Concert notes. And for this one, I think it was just the opening act. And then we'll use break and the unsale time. So now we can refresh this and we see that our stuff is all here. Okay, so now we can actually start styling our ticket. So the first thing I'm going to do is on the ticket itself, we wanted to display flex, but have flex direction of column. And then we'll also want to have some spacing between all of our elements. So the gap may be 1.5 rem. Maybe we'll make it bigger, maybe 2. And then we want to align items to center. And now we're going to go ahead and do our concert info part, which is this 2 here. So we also want display flex. And actually let's do the width of 100%. And then justify content space between. And then our concert date. So the p tag by default has a margin and we don't want it to have one. So we'll remove that. And then our H3 concert location. This one also has a margin. And here we want font weight to be 400. And then you can see the text is still aligned to the left. We actually wanted to align it to the end. So that's our first part. And then our second part is going to be links. And for links, we actually will want all the links to have the following styling. So I'm just doing it on the A tag. And for this one, we want the font size of 125 rem. And then we're going to remove the default text decoration of the border. And we'll replace it with a border bottom instead. It just looks a little cleaner and easier to manipulate. And we do want to change the color to red. And then a fun thing we can do when you hover over it, we could do transform scale x -1 first, it gives a visual indication when you're hovering over a link. And second, it also kind of goes with the whole Memento Mori theme that they have going on in this logo here. So that's our link. And the last part is going to be concert notes, which is this small part here. Because we use the smaller tag, it's already smaller font size, but maybe we want it to be just slightly bigger. And then we also want it to take 100% of the width so that it's aligned over to the left. So what we could do now is take all of this stuff and transport it back to our CSS file. So first I'll do this H3. And actually, you probably could just leave it as H3 without indicating that it's concert location. But just looking at this page overall, I know that visually, for me personally, it would be easy to remember that, like, okay, this was my H1 tag, this one was H2. But then I'd probably forget which element here did I target as an H3. So that's why I was more descriptive. But yeah, it's totally up to you how you want to organize this. So then our second one is going to be a tag, and we'll actually also place it up on the top here. And then we'll have our concert stuff, which we already had a tag for it. So I'll just place it inside the existing one. And then the rest of this stuff I'll copy and place it here at the bottom. So now if we refresh, we'll see that all of our styling is still here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm actually going to copy a few more tickets over to this file just so that we have more of them here. I'm not going to copy all of them, but maybe like 6 or 9, just so that there is something here. Okay, so I added a couple more tickets here, so just we have something more to look at. Again, if we like resize this, I don't think we need to do anything responsively for the ticket, because the moment there is like too little space, the column layout changes and we get more space. But if we had like longer city names or venue names, maybe it would have made sense to change the layout. So the last part that we're going to do here is at the bottom navigation. But first, a small thing that I'm going to do is go inside our magic tool. And for the 2 sections that we have, we're going to add a border bottom, just as a divider. Make it gray. And then we also want to have a padding bottom of 2 rem. So it's just a tiny visual separation between the sections. And so our last part is going to be our navigation. So we're going to return to the index.html file. And I'm actually going to collapse this tour section as well. And we're going to add our navigation. So typically you would not place your navigation inside the main tag, because navigation is something that persists throughout the entire website, and the main part should only be reserved for the main content. But here, since every single link that we have here goes somewhere external, like this website is essentially just one page and everything else just goes elsewhere. So I think it's okay to place the nav inside the main tag, but yeah, let me know if I'm not right here. Okay, so from here, our navigation is also going to have an ordered list, and it's going to have 2 links. So the first one is going to be store, and the second one is going to be archives. So let's save that. And here are our 2 links. So from here, first let's actually take this section stuff here and copy it over to our style sheet. And now we can do styling for our navigation. So actually, the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to modify our unordered list settings. Currently, we have this part here applied to just the concert list, but we wanted to apply it to all unordered lists, even our navigation. So I'm going to cut the stuff out, and I'll place it inside this general section here. And now when we go back, we can see that we also don't have the default list styling here anymore. From here, what I'm going to do, so for our navigation, we want display flex, and we want it, give it a gap of 1 rem, and then we'll do justify content, and for our nav overall, we want the width of 100%. And the last thing, let's just add some more margin at the top and the bottom. Personally, I always like when I scroll to the bottom of the website and there's always some space so that if there's like any footer links, they're not too close to the edge. So we'll add a margin of 2 rems, just the top and bottom. And the very last thing, you can see that when I hover over our links here inside the tickets, we get this transform property, but here it doesn't apply. And one way to fix it, what we could do for the overall A tag is make sure it's displayed as black. And this way the transform property will be preserved. So what we're going to do now is move this over to our style sheet. And we'll take this too. And we can make a separate small section here. Place this in the top. And now we refresh, we have our navigation. Alright, so that's it. That's our website. And the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the Wave tool to check our website for any errors. It's a great tool that helps to address lots of accessibility concerns. And yeah, I highly recommend that you install it and test every single website that you make. So what I'm gonna do, I'll just click this one here. And here on the left, it's going to essentially allow you to see the state of your website. So you can see like the structure, and here we have our main header, then we have our world tour, and then we have a bunch of H3 headings. You can also check if you have any contrast arrows, it's gonna tell you. It will also let you know if you don't have an alt text for your images. And then this fun thing, you can also use it to toggle the styles off and just see kind of your website as raw as it is. And actually, as you can see here, we do have one arrow. So let's go and check out what that could be. And apparently, so when you're creating a website from scratch, you need to make sure that you add a language tag. If you're doing something like with WordPress or something else, usually a lot of these tools, they do have the language tag predefined, but here I need to add it. So we're going to return to our website. And here at the very top, we're just going to write language and N for English. So now we're going to refresh and do the Wave tool again and see that we no longer have any arrows. So yeah, that's a great tool, and make sure that you install it. I will obviously leave the link to it in the description. Okay, so that's it for our tutorial. Please let me know if you'd like to see any more like coding, redesigning stuff in the future. A disclaimer that I feel like I should make. Obviously, this isn't anything against the Pesh Mode or the designer who designed the original website. I understand that it's not as easy as me just sitting here and doing whatever the hell I want. One thing that I think doesn't have an excuse is the accessibility stuff. That should be handled regardless of aesthetics or any design part. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions. I will link all the resources in the description, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.